brings us to our budget presentation. So, Mr. Manager, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, I appreciate your time tonight. I'll make this brief in the interest of the amount of agenda items we have in front of us tonight. Starting off, I would like to thank all the department heads and staff that have helped put the proposed budget into its final version. The budgeting process is a tedious process, and the level of detail that has been provided by staff is genuinely appreciated. The 2025 manager's budget has been developed in consultation with the Board of Supervisors. There are no tax increases proposed for the year 2025. Total revenues are projected to be $13.7 million in the general fund. The year-end fund balance is projected to be $5.2 million. Expenditures are budgeted for $16.3 million, and this figure includes a $1.2 million transfer to the Fire Protection Fund to support the operational expenditures of the Emergency Services Department without the need for a tax increase. Salaries are budgeted in accordance with the various collective bargaining agreements, and salaries for key and exempt personnel are adjusted to remain competitive in today's market. The township has 79 full-time employees. Four new firefighters were brought on in 2024 with the use of the SAFER grant. After the grant expires, the township will need to support funding for these additional firefighters with tax revenue. The year-end fund balance at the end of 2025 is anticipated to be approximately $2.5 million, which represents 15.8% of expenditures. As far as other funds go, I'll touch on a few. The Fire Protection Fund, all revenues and expenditures previously budgeted in the general fund associated with the Emergency Services Department are moved to the Fire Protection Fund. In 2024, the Pennsylvania General Assembly revised the second-class township code to allow a maximum of 10 mils of real estate tax be allocated to that fund. A transfer of $1.2 million, as I previously mentioned, is proposed from the general fund, avoiding the need for a tax increase in 2025. Future tax increases will be necessary to support that operation. As far as the capital projects fund, the 2025 capital project accounts for $686,000 in capital purchases, such as police vehicles, technology upgrades, public works equipment, and infrastructure improvements. The township has a total of $845,000 budgeted in 2025 to go towards road paving. This is an increase of approximately over $100,000 more than 2024. Mr. Jim, if I could have the slide that we typically show each year. This slide depicts the comparison of real estate tax millage levied by the township. You see Newtown Township at the top at 13.115 mils, and then you can see other townships that are comparable to Newtown that collect EIT. I will note that a lot of these other towns that are shown on this slide do not have a paid fire department. There are several requests not included in the 2025 budget. Additional personnel such as police officers, firefighters, public works employees, directors in IT, human resources, and codes and zoning have been omitted, along with a slew of additional capital purchases. As far as timing and adoption of the budget, the preliminary budget needs to be advertised for a minimum of 20 days before it can be adopted by the Board of Supervisors. It's recommended that the preliminary budget be advertised on November 13th, with the final adoption of the 2025 budget on December 10th. There's no second meeting scheduled in December of this year because of Christmas holiday, so a second meeting would need to be advertised if we were to have one. Budget discussions will be included on future agendas for any clarification or any questions that the board may have. That concludes our report.
Thank you. I'm going to save my comments for our next meeting because I think we all just got this budget and we want to absorb it a little bit. So that's my feeling about questions. But if anybody on the board has any, please feel free.
I have one question. I think you mentioned there's no anticipated tax increase for 2025,
That's correct.
but you're anticipating an increase in 2026
Yes.
because of a ongoing deficit. Deficit spending? Can you explain the deficit spending situation?
Yes, so you have a figure that is a fund balance.
I'm sorry to say that. I didn't.
You have a figure of the fund balance that's sitting in the general fund right now. Your total revenues projected next year are $13.7 million, and your total expenditures are 16.3. So you're not bringing in enough money to offset the anticipated expenditures for next year. That's what a deficit spending is.
Okay, so to either avoid taxes, we'd have to spend less.
Either spend less or increase taxes, yes.
But you're saying no increase in
In 2025, that's correct.
Okay. And I would note you had thanks for sending me the survey of the Bucks County Consortium survey of salaries, and I noted on there that most of the salaries that you have put into this budget are at or near the average for townships of greater than 10,000.
That's correct. And you see them here. You have a very talented group of employees here who contribute a lot to the operation and go above and beyond whenever they're asked by myself or by this board. So I think that they should be compensated accordingly.
Okay, let me see if I had any other questions. You mentioned I think the 1 mil of real estate tax that we imposed last year, the one for debt services.
Yes.
And I think at that time we approved it. I'm reading from your manager's report of 10/11/2023. It says that money that we got from that 1 mil tax is specifically for the LED streetlight conversion project, building light upgrades, and the proposed pedestrian crossing signal located at Newtown Road and Tara Boulevard.
That's from 2023.
For 2024, that's the basis upon which we approved.
No.
We did not approve the 1 mil on the basis of that statement that you made.
No, it was for road paving. It was for the LED lighting and the building lighting.
No, I'm quoting from your Township Manager's 2024 budget message.
Yes, that's what I had in 2023. That was before we got awarded the grant money.
I understand that, but, when we raise taxes and we give a reason for it, I expect that we stick to the reason why we raised that tax.
That's understood. The debt was withdrawn for the road paving, building lighting, and for the LED lighting.
All right, that's basically all I have. Thank you.
I have been remiss. Our chair, Dennis Fisher, is here with us, and I forgot to say that. So he is on the phone, and so right now I'm going to say, Dennis, just say something if you would like to. Do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Well, I guess I have 2 comments and questions. One is the November 13th date for advertising the preliminary budget. Is that also known as hanging the budget?
Yes. That's what.
I just want to make sure the terminology I understood the terminology. So we're projecting, that's a projection, so very good. And in the B section of the budget where we list all of our revenues and expenditures. It's kind of confusing to me where the revenues stop, where the revenues end. What page they end and the expenditures start. I think I found it on page 4. It's kind of like mid-page with no separation.
Yeah, that's correct, it's page B4.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure I had that right.
Right.
I'll put a double line in there so I know. And the other thing, and I'm guessing this is because we don't have a signed agreement with the borough's contribution for fire services is listed at 182 or 183, and we do have a tentative agreement not signed yet, so I guess that's why they didn't put the actual number is 191, 856, I think.
That's correct, we used last year's number because there's no current agreement for next year.
Got it. It's coming. That's all I have for now.
Thank you.
And to thank you.
I just have one more comment, with relative to what Mr. Fisher was talking about, realizing which pages are revenue and which are expenses. There's no header on these pages, so.
Right, no, it's so that the expenditures start at line item on page B4 at 01400 110. Everything preceding that is revenue.
Well, can I suggest that you probably make it a little bit easier, and especially when
We'll take a look to see if there's a way to delineate the two.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
Yes, Madam Chair. Since there is no tax increase for 2025, I'm just going to throw a hypothetical out there. Could we tonight hang this budget and still continue to make adjustments to it as time goes on?
Yes, it could be authorized for advertisement. However, once you do advertise it, you can't increase spending in any department more than 10% 25% and 10% in the budget overall. So there is some parameters for that. I don't really foresee that happening, but it absolutely could be authorized for advertisement if that's what the board decides.
And the other thing is, Mr. Mack brought up a good point that for us to spend less. Now, one way of spending less would be to actually lay off certain personnel.
Personnel is a
And
majority of the budget.
what is the percentage of personnel in this budget?
I would guess conservatively between 75 and 80%.
Okay, so we're top heavy on personnel,
Yeah.
so it's not much we can cut there without affecting services and so on.
That's correct. I mean, the other thing you could look into reducing further is the capital plan above what we've already cut out of it to try to maintain consistency with that replacements.
Okay. That's all I have right now.
And I'd just like to say I have some concerns and suggestions that I'm going to hold until our next meeting, which would prevent me from saying hang the budget, but I understand what your point is. Anybody else? Any questions?
Well, getting back to what Mr. Clapper was talking about, in terms of saving some money, I would note that we are paying Barry Islett and Associates for our zoning officer services. And in last year, well, in 2023, they billed us over $371,000. And that was, in our budget was for them $159,000. In 2024, to date, it's $293,000, over $293,000, also over budget. And so perhaps the township could save money by hiring a zoning officer, which I know from the salary survey, the average is about $35 an hour for a full-time person. I also know that some other townships use outside services for perhaps these same people. But it seems to me that $300,000 a year is sort of an exorbitant fee to be paying
So
a
the way,
zoning officer function.
it's not only the zoning officer, so they're also the building inspectors, and the way they charge is they take a percentage of the fees that are required to file a building permit. So that figure is not just the zoning officer, it's also the building inspection fees, the permit fees, and all that everything else that comes along with it.
I don't know the details of all the building inspecting and all that, but a percentage of the fees that we charge, I mean, that's what leads to this exorbitant amount of money.
Yes.
I'm just saying, if you want to save money, I would take a look at that and maybe try to hire full-time people, or I don't know how many people you need for building inspection. I thought the fire department did a lot of that. But whatever, I think we could save money there.
Anything else?
Thank you. This brings us to